I struggled with sticking to learning cybersecurity until I discovered this productivity system. In fact, this system has been so effective for me that not only did it help me up my 9-to-5 salary from around $80,000 to $200,000 in just a few years, it also enabled me to start my own business while working in cybersecurity full time, and to also get that business to the point where I could leave my 9-to-5 job at the age of 31 and move all the way to the other side of the world from the US to here in Bangkok, Thailand. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through my entire system so that you can reap the rewards as well. And it's not just me, many of my clients have been able to use this exact same productivity system as well. I'll show you a screenshot on the screen right now of one of my clients that joined in the summer and went through my web pen testing course. And one of the course bonuses that I had at the time was this productivity system that I'm going to show you for free in this YouTube video, because I noticed that it was so impactful to a lot of my students that I want to release it to all of you guys so you can reap the rewards as well. But in the first screenshot is when he first joined the program, kind of talking about where he was at with everything. And then if we look at the next screenshot, you can see that he was able to use this productivity system to then land a job in the field, straight into a pen testing role, by the way, as well. And this was him coming right out of college. So the site that I use for productivity is known as Kanban So if you go to kanbanflow.com, and it's absolutely free to use. And to my knowledge, there is no paid version or any need for a paid version, if they even offer that. But you can do all this for free. And the purpose of the software is for software development teams mostly, or, project planning and things like that. So I know it's used heavily in the software development space when they're planning out their projects and assigning out their tasks. And if you approach your own tasks and the things you have to do as if you were working on a project at a major company, then you can be very efficient, because there's a reason that they do things the way they do at these large companies when they want to accomplish really big tasks. So here I'm going to walk you through my system, because a lot of this, almost all of this is things that I have customized. So when you first come here, you'll be prompted to create a board. And if you already have a board, if you click the hamburger menu down here and you go to create board, you're going to be presented with this screen here. I'm going to give it a name. I'll just call it YouTube for the sake of this video. And it's going to ask you columns, like what do you want to name the columns here? The columns are these. The way that I do it is because I use this for weekly planning. So I would definitely recommend to have one for today. So, what are the tasks that I need to do today? And then for each day of the week. So we'll say like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So once we plugged in the days of the week, I normally like to also add one for done, so I know like which tasks are done, so I can mark them, move them over when I'm finished. And also what I would prefer is to have some tasks that you're going to plan out for future weeks. So if there's some ideas, some things that you want to work on, but maybe not right now, you want to have them in your back catalog. So I have one for next week. So when I go to plan each week, I can go through my next week ones and assign them out. And then also I have backlog, things that I definitely want to be mindful of, but I don't necessarily need to do it right away. So I'll create one for next week and then one that we'll just call backlog. And feel free to tweak this as well to your preferences. This is just how I prefer to set it up. So now I'll just hit next. And where do you want to put your finished task? I'll say we're going to put it in done. And if you want to put a limit on how much you can have in progress at once, you can set that here. I'm going to leave that blank. And if you want to invite members, you can. But since we're using it for our own productivity, there'll be no need to do that here. So this is the one that we have here. And we can click to expand or unexpand, I guess, for lack of a better term, these columns here as we prefer. So I noticed that there's some discrepancies between what I have here and what I have here. So if I want to reorganize something later, if we click the pencil button here, we can edit this layout and I can shift around things as I see fit. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to move this this done column over just a little bit. So I'll drag it on over here. And let's add this recurring one. So there's certain tasks that I do each week related to content creation and running my calls and things like that. And so there's certain tasks that are going to keep coming up. So I like to have one called recurring, because that helps me when I do my weekly planning. So I'll have a planning day once a week where I'll go and I'll build out all these cards so I know exactly what I need to do throughout the week. And I can show you that here in a second. When I'm finished, I can just hit done. And now everything looks the same as we have it set up over here. So the idea is I will have a planning session where I'm sitting down each week and planning out, okay, what are the tasks that I need to accomplish for the week? Now, the beauty of this system is you can have separate card types. So if I click the plus button, let's say we want to create a card, right? I have these preset that I created already. Now, I am utilizing something, and here's a huge part of this system, something known as the Pomodoro technique. If you're not familiar with it, essentially, the Pomodoro technique is you're breaking out your work into 25-minute intervals. The idea behind it is that, and you've probably experienced this before, comment down below if you have, but have you ever had that experience of you're trying to get some work done and the task in front of you, you just feel so dreadful, like you really don't want to do it, you're procrastinating, and it's hard to even start. Well, the beauty of this system and of the Pomodoro technique, it's directly created to combat that based on the most psychological data that we have, essentially. Because the reason oftentimes that we procrastinate on stuff is there's a couple main drivers. One is that the task is too large, it's too daunting. So what having these cards allows us to do is to break it down into small digestible pieces, right? So for example, if you have a task of, I need to build a $10 million business this year, like you're probably going to procrastinate on that because it's such a huge Herculean effort, right? But if you say, like, if you break that down to its component parts and say, okay, well, what do I need to do? Kind of reverse engineer it. What do I need to do to make that happen? And let's say you just keep breaking that down to smaller and smaller chunks, and you're eventually like, okay, I need to create a product that I can sell. And then maybe even more specific than that, I have to create, I don't know, let's say this particular digital product is going to be 10 videos or something like that. And so then you can say, okay, even smaller, I need to create one video. Okay, can you sit down and create one video? You know, maybe even that's too difficult. Maybe I got to script the video and then I got to record the video, right? Whatever it is, eventually you can break it down to a small enough chunk that it's like, okay, well, I can definitely just sit down and do this small thing. And now with the Pomodoro timer itself, you know, that might be another daunting thing is like, okay, well, how long is this going to take? Well, if you can estimate it and you can say it's going to take 3 Pomodori, meaning like 3 25-minute sessions, right? You can sit down and do one 25-minute session. Maybe it's too daunting to sit down and do 3 hours, right, of something. Like you're like, oh man, I got to spend 3 hours on this video. I don't feel like doing that. I'm going to procrastinate. Versus, well, okay, I just need to sit down for 25 minutes and then another 25 and then another 25. That's a lot more digestible, right? So that's the idea, the kind of psychology behind the Pomodoro technique. And the beautiful thing about Kanban Flow is it has that timer built in. So let me just show you like this task here. You know, and I'm not utilizing the system in the best way right now because I'm about to go out of town. So I was a little lazy on my planning for the 2 more days while I'm here before I go. I'm about to head to China and stuff pretty soon. But if I hit this timer button here, I can say start Pomodoro, and you see it's counting down from 25 minutes. So when this finishes, it'll actually track the amount of Pomodoro you've worked as well. And this is a huge, huge part of my system. And so the idea behind it is, and this is going to take a little bit of iteration to really get the full power out of the system, because it requires you to be able to estimate how many Pomodori your different tasks are going to take. So when I go to create a card, I have it broken down by tasks that are going to take less than 25 minutes or less than 1 Pomodoro. The yellow cards, and this is something that I set up. I'll show you how to set it up in a second. The yellow cards are the ones that are going to take 1 Pomodoro in my estimation. You know, green for 2, this one for 3, 4, 5, etc. And also my mentor assigns me tasks whenever I meet with him on my monthly calls. So I have a separate color for that just so I can track that, those tasks as well. And if it's a large task that, you know, maybe I just have an idea pop into my head and I'm going to split it out later, then I would typically put it with this. Also, I kind of use this for like one-off tasks like calls and different things that I have that pop up on my calendar. But this is my personal system here. If we want to implement this over here, let's say we go to create a card. This is what it's going to look like by default. It's just going to say the color name. But if you click the 3 dots here, you can rename it. So you can have like a key here to do something like I did like with the Pomodoros. You can say like oh, this is going to take 2 palm, this is going to take 1 palm, whatever. And you can even like reorder it however you want. So it's kind of up to you how you want to tweak it. But if you want a template, you can kind of see what I'm doing here with how I have this labeled. This is going to be very important for the system that you have some kind of label for these in terms of the Pomodori. That's going to be pretty crucial. So if I show you my recurring tasks, these are some of the weekly tasks and stuff that I'm doing. I kind of organize these by dailies and then each day of the week. So we got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. as I scroll down all the way till Sunday. That way, when I'm going and doing my weekly planning, I can say, okay, well, daily task, let me just throw this out for each day. And then, you know, okay, this is just a Monday task, so I'm just going to put this one in Monday, right, for example. Now, what I would recommend to do, because as you see, then it's gone from the recurring, just right-click and copy it. It'll duplicate it. That way you can keep the recurring task there so you never have to remember, oh, shoot, what was in my recurring? I forget. You can just duplicate it and then move it over to wherever you need it. So I can start throwing these each day because this is a daily. This one would just be on Monday. So I have it, when I created these tasks, I put it in parentheses so I know, okay, this is a daily task. This is like on this day of the week, etc. So that way I know exactly when I need to be performing these different tasks. There's no guesswork there. There's no question. And also, I typically will check my Google Calendar at this point, just in case I have anything that's like specific to that week that I need to address. Like, let's say I have to, you know, pay my editor or whatever. I had, I think I had that on here somewhere. Oh yeah, on my Wednesday task, pay editor, and then I got to pay my mentor as well on Wednesday. And so I had that in my calendar, and I looked at my calendar. I'm like, okay, that's coming up on Wednesday. Let me drop it in my Kanban board as well. That way I don't forget to do it because I'm always checking this every day. So I have everything in one place, and that makes it a lot easier to kind of track everything down. So what I would do is you want to set a target in terms of how many Pomodoro you want to work. Now, a note on the Pomodoro sessions. When you go and you start this timer, right? The idea, if you're going to implement this properly, the idea is that you will sit down for 25 minutes with no distraction. So ideally, you would close out any other apps that are running that could distract you. You know, if you're distracted easily by your phone, like move that to another room or something just for the 25 minutes, because what's really going to be the ultimate leverage for you with this is going to be to have 25 minutes, one Pomodoro of undistracted work, full focus, deep work. That's really crucial. And you want to, this is what I found works for me best, is to have my most important tasks first in the day. And if you can do this and you can full focus for 25 minutes in these 25-minute intervals, that is going to be massively impactful. You know, how many of you guys work in a 9 to 5 at an office, right? And you're working 40 hours a week. You're working 8 hours a day. And even though you're working 8 hours a day, it's like if you actually track the amount of time you're working, it's like way less than that, right? Between all the distractions. And even when you're working, you're often distracted by a lot of things and not fully focused. You would be very surprised how much work you can get done in a much shorter amount of time if it's fully focused, deep work. So that is like one of the main benefits of using the Pomodoro technique if you can implement this strictly with yourself. And the idea is you want to set a Pomodoro goal for each day, right? What I would recommend is if you're just starting out with this, try incorporating this in your 9 to 5 job as well for tasks that you would do there. And try to work, I would say 8 to 10 Pom. Try to dedicate 8 Pomodori or 10 Pomodori a day to these tasks, okay? So what I would do, right, is I would go through and I would set all my recurring tasks, and I would try to make it so that when we're adding all these up, it adds up to 10 Pomodori, right? I think that's the plural form of Pomodoro. So it will need to add up to 10 Pomodori. Then I know, okay, I have properly allocated my task. I am going to have meaningful work that is going to fill my day. And then what I will do, like after I go through the recurring, I'll check my next week and see, okay, are there any in the next week then I want to add here. I have some extra room. Let's say I have 3 Pomodori, whatever, that I have available to work in this day, because let's say I filled up like 7 of these and I have 3 more. Okay, let me go in next week or whatever and see what I can add there. And that's how I will fill my calendar for each day. And I'll just go through and I'll do this for each day of the week. And that way I know that each day I am going to have my calendar stacked with meaningful work, and I know exactly what I'm going to get done and when I'm going to get done. Because here is another major reason that you procrastinate on things. It's because there's so much more friction involved with starting. Think about it. If you're not using any kind of tracker like this, you not only have to have the discipline to sit down, but then you got to figure out what to work on. When you're implementing a system like this, there is no question exactly what you need to work on because it's spelled out for you very clearly. You can sit down each day and be like, okay, here's all the things that I'm doing today. And you would be surprised. It doesn't seem like a lot, like, oh yeah, you're just choosing a task ahead of time. No. I can tell you, you will be very surprised just how much easier it is to do the work when you know what that work is. It's so much, it frees you up so much mentally when you can just sit down each day and be like, okay, this is what I'm working on. Now let me just focus on working on that. And so you master wearing two hats. You're each week when you do the planning session, you're wearing the hat of the manager, and the manager's saying, hey, here's the work, divvy it out. And then when you sit down each day, you're wearing your worker hat. So you're just focused on working, executing on the tasks. So you're kind of playing two roles here with this. And, if you think about your own job, imagine if you had to plan like all the projects and work as a pen tester, right? Like you had to go and plan all the engagements and all this stuff and have all these meetings with the clients. And you also had to perform the engagements. Now, maybe some of you are doing that if you're in a smaller shop and you're wearing multiple hats. But at the big companies, these are always separate roles because it's so much more efficient. There's a reason for a lot of the stuff that you see implemented at these larger companies. So this is the idea behind it. Now, the big challenge with this is when you first start out, you're not going to be probably very accurate at estimating how long these tasks you're going to take. So that's why in the weekly planning sessions, it's super important that you evaluate, okay, how accurate was I with the predictions of this? Now, for example, maybe I thought that writing the script for my long form video would only take me 1 Pomodoro, but actually it took me 3 Pomodoro. So what I would do is I would change that here, right? So I would, I would get rid of this and replace that here. So now going forward, okay, this is going to take me closer to 3 Pomodoro really, not the 1 Pomodoro that I thought it would originally. So over time, with more iterations in the system, you will get better at predicting accurately what duration this is going to take, and then you're going to have an easier time because you'll feel a lot more better about yourself if each day you had a set number of things that you needed to get done and you knew exactly what those things were and you knew that you could finish it because you were accurate at estimating your time. You've done this a lot before. And so each day you get that satisfaction of just checking all these things off your list. And because they're pre-planned, they're not just random tasks. You know these are the important things that are actually driving your progress forward to whatever goal that you're trying to achieve, whether that is, to get another certification, to work towards your goals of getting a job in the field, whatever it is, or maybe some other project completely, you can be sure of that. Now, I have this today category, and the reason for that is each day I'll go in and be like, okay, well, today's Tuesday, so I'm just gonna, I was holding the shift key to highlight all of these, and I'm gonna move them over. Boom, this is what I gotta do for the day, unexpand that, and now I can work on each one. Okay, let's say I finish this, move this to done, and then so on and so forth. So that is the idea behind all that. And then each week I'll just clear out this done. But it's also satisfying because you can see how many tasks have I done? This week I've done 136 tasks. It can also be pretty motivating from that standpoint as well. But if you can really nail down this system, you can know for sure that you are getting an appreciable amount of work done and that it's the right tasks based on your goals. You know that you are moving forward towards that goal that you're trying to achieve. If you'd like some help implementing this system or just staying accountable, because that is the one gap in this system, it kind of requires you to hold yourself accountable to make sure that you are actually consistently sitting down each week and planning out your tasks and that you are actually executing on those tasks and you're not, cutting corners and things like that. And you're really holding yourself to it and being honest with yourself. If you want to work with me to do that, then definitely go down below and fill out a brief survey. And if you're qualified, we can jump on a call and I'll help you get on the path.